She has an enviable list of over 700 published clients who have won dozens of awards, excellent media coverage, and best-selling book sales. Her TEDx talk, Sometimes You Need to Change Yourself to Be Yourself, has had 500,000 views and focuses on identity, self-esteem, and transgender issues. She has authored and co-authored 9 books, including the bestseller 24 Karat Bold, which was endorsed by Seth Godin. Her latest book, The Thoughtful Leader, challenges leaders to go beyond thought leadership and focus on consideration of ideas and people. Please welcome Mindy Gibbins-Klein.
Writing and publishing a book. It's on a lot of people's goals lists, bucket list. It's a very exciting and rewarding thing to do. Any authors in the audience will know this. And publishing is also fun and exciting. It's really great to be part of people's dreams, to help them share their wisdom, share their insights with the world, share a piece of themselves with the world, and maybe even change the world with their words. Publishing can be really fun and exciting, except when it's not. So, this is us, Panoma Press. And we have a lot of fun most of the time, but I can't help looking at things from my point of view, with my lens. And my lens says, let's make sure things look the way they need to in the publishing industry, with books in general, and in society. There are certain things that are really important to me, and when I notice that things are not looking quite right, then I want to do something about it. In December of last year, I saw a blog. I see lots of blogs, but this particular blog had a list of 37 business books you must read. And it was right before Christmas, and I thought, let me take a look at this list, see what's good. Because we publish business books, and I love business and reading business books. So I took a look at this blog, and as I was scrolling through the list, something occurred to me. Every single book on the list was authored by a man. 37. Not only that, but almost every single book was authored by a middle-aged white man. Now, don't get me wrong. I love middle-aged white men, one in particular, my husband. And I love the fact that people are sharing their wisdom in books. That's what we help them do. But it just didn't look right to me. I thought about it. I thought, shall I just leave it? Shall I stir things up? So I put a very mild post on LinkedIn. And I just said, what do you guys think? I said, this looks very strange to me, and I wonder if this is reflecting our society. That's all I said. So I got some supportive comments straight away, because a lot of people did understand what I was talking about. And then I started getting the haters coming out of the woodwork. Why do you women always turn things into a feminist issue? Excuse me? And that's not what I was doing, but, you know, that person had their lens on. And then a few more comments came in, and then there was one that pushed me over the edge. That's just the way it is. So I slept on it overnight, and the next morning I thought, you know what? Not good enough. Because if we had that attitude, that's just the way it is, well, women would not have the vote still. Slavery would still be legal. You don't just say that's just the way it is. And I'm the kind of person that if I feel something's not good enough, I say something and I do something. So I thought, well, wait a minute, let me make sure my own house is in order first. Let me see what we're doing, because I'm all ready to accuse other people and point the finger. Let's just see. And I found that I was quite pleased to find this. 60% of the books that we published last year at my company were authored by women. So I thought, that's really great, because we weren't really focused on it. People might look at me and say, oh, you're a female publisher, so you're biased towards women. Not true. Not true at all. I normally don't look at gender unless provoked. And I was provoked. So then I started thinking about other underrepresented groups, such as Black and minority ethnic people, people from the LGBTQ community, disabled people, older people, seniors, millennials, veterans, ex-service people. And I thought, we're not doing such a great job. We really had very, very low percentages of all of those. We'd never focused on it. But I wasn't willing to say, well, that's just the way it is. So I thought, what will we do about this? And we put our money where our mouth is and took a deep breath and did something else that's quite bold. We decided that we'd have an inclusive publishing strategy in 2019. And that means that 80% of the books that we're publishing this year must be authored by people from underrepresented groups, all those groups that I mentioned. And basically, anybody else who feels that left to chance, they're not being given a fair chance. I've had all kinds of comments. I've had all sorts of people praise our work, and some more haters. But I think people generally get it, that we're redressing the balance. We're creating a more level playing field. It should be equal opportunities for all, with the ease of publishing and self-publishing, but that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about having a publisher who is spending time, effort, and money on the author. Anybody can self-publish, and I give a lot of credit to people who have done it and who've done well with it. But I'm talking about having a publishing partner. And so we set out to do that. That was our public declaration on January 9th of this year. 3 groups win, we've found. The first one, obviously, are the authors. The next group are the readers. And the third group are the publishers. And as a publisher, all I can speak to you about today is our experience, what we've done with this bold initiative, what's gone well, and we're not even halfway through the year, but we already have quite a few examples where this is paying off. So I'll talk to you briefly about each of the 3 groups. So let's talk about the authors, because that's the obvious group, isn't it? These are people who, well, they're not being published or not in as large a number as we might like. These are people whose voices are not being heard. They're not part of the narrative. They may feel that they don't have a chance. They may feel that they won't receive any attention. They may have been rejected, or they might not even try. They don't see a lot of people who look like them in print. They don't have role models, as it were. So it would be very easy for them not to even put themselves forward. Does this make sense to you guys? You may know people who have had those thoughts and thought, why bother? We do have a bit of a celebrity-based culture, and we just have an entrenched culture of certain people having more books in print. It's not right or wrong. It's just historical. So they are fully justified in the way they feel and the way maybe they don't feel like pushing water uphill. So the funny thing is, these authors are more than willing to come out from their hiding place. This is me hiding behind some of my books. There's a lot of people hiding because they would rather not even try. If you don't try, you can't be rejected. And I started meeting these people, and I did a talk about 3 months ago, and an autistic woman got in touch with me after, and she was pretty emotional, and she said, for me, this is very emotional. She said, thank you very much, because I feel hopeful. She'd had rejections. She'd tried to get people's attention. She just thought, nobody cares. She doesn't put herself across the same way as other people. But I said, I want to listen. I want to work with you. Let's see. And her writing is beautiful. And this is a voice that would not be heard otherwise. If someone wasn't making an extra effort, I feel she would be overlooked and remain unpublished. So let's talk about the next group, the readers. I guess everyone in here is a reader, as well as possibly being an author and maybe a publisher. So we do some funny things, we readers. Now I'm going to start with my dirty secret. I tend to read a lot of books authored by people who look like me, middle-aged white women. I think, I'm not going to ask you to put a hand up, but I think if I did, you might agree that your comfort zone has something to do with reading material from people who look like you. It makes sense. It makes sense. It reinforces our identity. It helps us feel that people understand us. We're not alone. So why does a more diverse and inclusive publishing strategy help readers? Well, my view is that the reader gets more choice. The reader can have more opportunities to get to know different kinds of people that can broaden their horizons, that can broaden their thinking, that can create, hopefully, more tolerance amongst our very fragmented society. I think part of the problem is that we stay in our echo chamber and we hear the same voices and the same thoughts and ideas all the time, and that, as I say, reinforces what we already think. So this is a bit of a challenge because just publishing the book makes no difference if people aren't reading it. So as a reader, you may want to consider having something else on your bedside table or in your Kindle. You may. This is a funny slide, and it's never mind the books on there. I'm not poking fun at anybody. It's just that the bestsellers tend to be from the same kind of authors, and we know that money goes into it because we've spent money in my company on campaigns. But the thing is, I'm asking people to think about this bestseller bias. I call it a bestseller bias. There's more out there than just the bestsellers, and there's exciting stuff out there. Have you heard of the long tail? Have you read the long tail or heard of the concept? Chris Anderson came out with it maybe 15 years ago. So this bit over here at the head, that's the bestsellers. And then you get the kind of middle sellers. Then you get a long tail that's getting skinnier and skinnier with fewer and fewer sales per book. However, it's very relevant. The long tail is really relevant because there's niche books, there's niche, well, what do you call it here, niche interests. I was born here, but I always forget. And there are plenty of exciting books that you may never read or even hear about. Imagine that. But they're all important to someone. It doesn't mean they shouldn't exist. So just because a book is authored by somebody who will never become a bestseller doesn't mean it doesn't have value. So I've always been a proponent of the long tail. And my publisher friends in the audience are also there for the, let's call them the underdogs. You know, we're there for the little guys. We're little guys, right? I'm there fighting my fight against big publishers, and the authors need the visibility, and they need a partner who understands that. So that's very exciting to me. And diversity and inclusion in publishing means just this. It means not thinking, is it going to be a bestseller? It means thinking, is this an important book to add to our catalog? And is this an important book for our readers to consider and maybe learn from? I said I'd talk about 3 groups. So the publisher is the final one. Are there any publishers in the audience, by the way? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so most of you are not publishers. Let me tell you some secrets about publishers. We need to make money. The publisher needs to make money, or they go out of business and everyone loses. Hopefully that makes sense. In terms of a publisher having a diverse or inclusive publishing strategy, we have all those goals going on at the same time. making money, revenues, profits, running the business, production, sales, distribution, keeping the authors happy is a big job. When we add another goal like let's be inclusive, it might seem like it's too much, like it's just the straw that breaks the camel's back. Well, here's been our experience. We've, in fact, had a great response, first of all, from our team members. So the members of my team got together at London Book Fair, and we got such great feedback about this. They didn't even understand what it was. It was only 2 months old, this initiative, but they kind of got it. They wanted to be part of a brand that was doing the right thing. Somebody who was opening the doors instead of closing them. Somebody who was creating opportunities instead of killing dreams. We were always doing that, but we've brought the team members into it, and we've always had a really good retention, really good loyalty. Some of our team members have been with us 10 out of the 13 years we've been in business, and we're really proud of that. And they're even more loyal now and even happier to work with Panoma Press and this goal. Everybody's doing their bit. It's very exciting. Our strap line, but let me talk about our name first, because a lot of people ask me, what does Panoma mean? We had to rebrand about 7 years ago because the company that we were associated with changed hands. So we needed a new name fast. And I thought, oh gosh, I'm so busy, but we needed a new name. And so I just started thinking out of the box and came up with two bits, which together make Panoma. So this is something that no one else will tell you. Anoma is a word from the Buddhist language called Pali, and it means wisdom. And Pan, well, it means global. It means far-reaching. Far-reaching global wisdom. I felt quite good about that, but I felt really great about the strapline that we came up with together as a team. It's very simple. You may have heard things like this before, but together it really, really works. So we firmly believe that all books change lives. They change the author's life. They change, hopefully, the reader's life. And when the book does well, in whatever measure you use for that term, then it changes the publisher's life as well. Got me? Okay. So this is us. This is Panoma. This is what it feels like to be doing the right thing. This is what it feels like to be bringing more diverse authors and their ideas into the market. This is what it feels like to be changing lives, those of the author, the reader, and the publisher. This is why I do what I do. And I encourage you to join me and join us in this initiative. So here are some things that you can do. Just some ideas to consider. Number one, for the publishers in the room, just ask yourself, what does the current demographic look like? Because it's probably or possibly been left to chance. Ours was. If you looked at it, would it look as inclusive as you might like? And if not, what can be done about it in a nice, professional, and respectful way? Because my haters will say, well, thanks a lot. What about the white men? And I have some polite and respectful answers, which is there's plenty of opportunities for everybody. And even at my company, 20% of what we do will be authored by people from that group. But we're trying to redress the balance. So think about it and see if it makes sense for you. Remember that as a publisher, when you provide that more diverse and inclusive selection of books, you're helping to create that cooperation, that understanding between groups. You're helping to foster a society where people are really trying to get to know and understand other people from people who don't look or sound or feel like them. And you're part of that, and I find that very exciting. If you're an author, And if you're from one of these groups, or you just feel that you haven't been given a fair chance, have a chat. Have a chat with as many publishers as you can. Have a chat with us. Don't give up, because we need your voice. We need to add your voice to the narrative. You might think that you don't have a chance, but until you've spoken to all 18,000 publishers that allegedly exist, then you haven't given yourself a good enough chance. Now, if you're a reader, and I hope we're all readers, are you ready for this challenge? Are you ready? I challenge you to actively seek out and read, and maybe even review, books from people, authored by people who really look and sound different from yourself. So in my case, with all my middle-aged female white authors on my bookshelf and my bedside table and my Kindle, I guess I really need something by a young gay black man, if you know any. I need to read things from people that I don't tend to read about or understand, but I really want to. So I could go on and on about why I think this is important for our society, but this is really just about us doing our little bit. The little publishers are a tiny, tiny piece in a very big puzzle. There's a lot of books out there. These are 34 of ours, and when I took a look at our list, I noticed that, let me get this right, 21 of the 34 were authored by women, and this slide was put together by one of our designers. It was quite random. Only 3 were authored by ethnic minority authors. So that's not good enough. And we don't, 2 are by disabled authors. Maybe that's good enough, maybe not. And we haven't looked at the ageist sway on our list. So we have a ways to go. One of my favorite phrases these days is, sorry, not good enough. It might not sound like something you would hear from a motivational speaker, but I think it's the most important phrase that you could ever utter. Because until you say, sorry, not good enough, you're not going to strive for anything else. You're going to settle for whatever you're doing. Until you investigate and look at what's really happening, there is no change. So if you can be honest about anything in your life or business and say, maybe that's not good enough, then that's a great starting point. I'd like to dedicate the last 5 minutes to any question that's a burning question if you have one. If not, I can finish up. But you may be provoked by something I said. Actually, the people who are most provoked wandered out. So you're still here. You're listening to an independent publisher on the indie publishers stage. So obviously you're supportive of the little guy, and I want to thank you for that. And I think we're all in this together. So is there a burning question that I should answer right now? No? Yes? You'll have to run up here or something like that, because we haven't provided a mic. You can do it. Quick, quick, quick.
I was just at a panel about African-American authors and children's literature, and one of the things that came up as a topic of conversation was needing to hire more editors and people in the publishing industry of people of color. What are the things that you have done in your company to hire more people of color?
Fantastic. Really great question. Hopefully everybody heard it. So when we looked at our staffing as well, it turns out that every member of staff is female, disabled, and a couple of millennials. So far we've not hit that particular segment, so not good enough, need to get better. That's one of the areas that we also believe is important, because if you're going to have an inclusive publishing strategy, it includes an inclusive production schedule and an inclusive culture. So thank you so much for that question. We do have a couple of minutes, and I am going to finish a tiny bit early, and I'll just repeat the last thing that I said to you, which is we're all in this exciting game, whether you're writing books, editing books, publishing and launching books. We're all in this fun and exciting adventure together. So let's just make sure that more people from different walks of life can also enjoy a fun and exciting adventure. Thank you.